I'm dying, Jack. Emma's words hung in the air between them, her perfect composure finally cracking as tears spilled down her porcelain cheeks. The afternoon light caught in her long chestnut hair as she nervously tucked it behind her ear, a rare gesture of vulnerability from a woman who commanded boardrooms with iron confidence. 6 months, maybe less. That's why I won't, let you love me. Jack Harrington felt the ground disappear beneath him. His architect's hands, strong from years of drafting and building models, trembled as he ran them through his sandy brown hair, the slight gray at his temples betraying the stress of single parenthood. Just when he'd finally opened his heart again after 5 years of emotional lockdown, the universe had played the cruelest joke imaginable. Emma Chen, the brilliant CEO who'd stormed into his life and demolished his carefully constructed walls, was slipping away before they'd even had a chance. His 7-year-old daughter Lily, with her mother's soulful eyes and his stubborn chin, had already lost one mother. How could he explain losing another woman they both had come to care for? And how could he face another devastating loss when he'd barely survived the first? The secret Emma had been hiding explained everything. Her reluctance to discuss the future, the mysterious medical appointments, the way she lived each day with such fierce intensity. It explained the small pill case she discreetly carried in her designer handbag and the moments when exhaustion briefly shadowed her face before she rallied with characteristic determination. But it created an even more burning question: was loving someone worth the inevitable heartbreak that would follow? "Dad, why are you crying?" Lily's small voice called from the doorway, her innocent question making the stakes painfully clear. Jack quickly wiped his eyes, forcing a smile that didn't reach them. Emma turned away, unable to face the child who had somehow worked her way into her heart despite her best efforts to maintain professional distance. Lily stood clutching her favorite stuffed penguin, the one Emma had won for her at the carnival last month, staying determined at the ring toss until the booth operator had practically begged her to take the prize. Jack had never expected to find himself here. After his wife's death during childbirth, he'd built an impenetrable fortress around his heart, focusing solely on raising Lily and growing his architectural firm. His sister Maggie often told him he was emotionally constipated, but he'd wear the label proudly if it meant protecting himself and Lily from further pain. Love was a luxury he couldn't afford, not when he had a daughter depending on him for stability. A series of meaningless flings had been enough to satisfy his physical needs without risking emotional entanglement. His quick wit and self-deprecating humor had become both his charm and his shield, keeping conversations light and expectations low. Until Emma Chen walked into his office 3 months ago, seeking an architect to design her company's new headquarters. With her long silky hair cascading over her shoulders and sharp intelligence that matched his wit for wit, she'd immediately commanded his attention. Her tailored suits couldn't quite hide her perfect figure, but it was her mind that truly captivated him, the way she could dissect his initial designs with surgical precision while simultaneously improving them. And beneath her polished exterior, he occasionally glimpsed something else, a flash of vulnerability when she spoke about creating spaces for healing, a genuine delight when she discovered the hidden reading nook he'd incorporated into the plans. "I don't do relationships, Mr. Harrington," she'd stated firmly after their third meeting, when the attraction between them became impossible to ignore. Her fingers had nervously adjusted the delicate jade pendant she always wore, a gift from her grandmother, he would later learn. "I'm married to my company." "Perfect," he'd replied with his trademark smirk, the one that created a dimple in his left cheek. "I don't do relationships either. Just dinner. Maybe breakfast." If you're enjoying this emotional journey, hit that like button and let me know in the comments if you've ever faced an impossible choice in love. Their arrangement had started simply enough, passionate nights that were supposed to remain uncomplicated. No strings, no expectations, no disappointments. Just two attractive adults satisfying a mutual desire. But somewhere between late-night conversations and early morning coffee, something had shifted. Jack found himself sharing stories about Lily, about his late wife Sarah, about dreams he'd long abandoned. And Emma, despite her reservations, began revealing layers of herself she kept hidden from the world, her childhood in a household where perfection was the only acceptable standard, her father's disappointment when she chose business over medicine, her secret passion for painting landscapes that she never showed anyone. Now, standing in his living room with this devastating revelation between them, Jack faced the antagonist he'd been battling his entire adult life: fear. Fear of loss, fear of pain, fear of being left alone again. This invisible enemy had dictated his choices for years, keeping him safely isolated but desperately lonely. He could feel it now, whispering that he'd been right all along. Opening his heart only led to pain. "You should go," Jack said finally, his voice hollow. He shoved his hands into his pockets to keep from reaching for her. This was a mistake from the beginning. Emma's eyes, those expressive amber eyes that could flash with determination one moment and sparkle with mischief the next, now flashed with hurt before hardening with resolve. "You're right. This is exactly why I don't do relationships. Goodbye, Jack." She gathered her things with efficient movements, her CEO persona sliding back into place like armor. Only the slight tremble in her usually steady hands betrayed her emotion. As the door closed behind her, Jack felt something break inside him. He'd gotten exactly what he thought he wanted: a clean exit, no messy emotions, no complicated explanations to Lily. So why did it feel like he was making the biggest mistake of his life? "Is Emma coming back?" Lily asked, her small face serious as she climbed onto the couch beside him. She smelled of the strawberry shampoo she insisted on using and the chocolate chip cookies they'd baked together last weekend, when Emma had joined them, laughing as flour dusted her expensive blouse. "No, sweetheart. She's very busy with work." The lie tasted bitter on his tongue. "That's not true," Lily said with the devastating directness of children. She fixed him with a stare so reminiscent of her mother that it made his chest ache. "You're scared. Like when I didn't want to try the big slide because I might fall." Out of the mouths of babes. Jack stared at his daughter, seeing for the first time how his fear had been limiting not just his life, but hers too. Don't forget to subscribe if you want more stories that tug at your heartstrings. What would you do in Jack's position? 2 weeks passed in a fog of work and routine. Jack threw himself into his latest project, staying late at the office and bringing work home. His business partner, Marcus, had started giving him concerned looks, especially after he snapped at an intern for a minor mistake, something the normally patient Jack would never do. If Lily noticed the dark circles under his eyes or his distracted responses, she didn't comment. But the drawing she brought home from school, always featuring 3 figures instead of 2, spoke volumes. The breaking point came during a client meeting when Jack found himself face to face with Emma across a conference table. She looked thinner, paler, but no less commanding as she outlined her company's needs to the project team. The red power suit she wore seemed to require more effort than usual to fill with her characteristic authority. Their eyes met briefly before she looked away, her professional mask never slipping. But Jack noticed how her assistant hovered nearby, ready with water and what looked suspiciously like medication. "Ms. Chen has some specific requirements for the wellness center portion of the headquarters," his associate was saying. "The foundation is funding experimental treatments for rare autoimmune conditions." Jack's head snapped up. Autoimmune conditions. Not cancer. Not necessarily terminal. His mind raced as pieces began falling into place. Emma's vague references to "my condition," the research materials he'd glimpsed on her tablet, her passion for funding medical research. When the meeting ended, he caught her arm as she attempted to sweep past him. 6 months, he said quietly. "That's the treatment protocol for the Nakamura therapy, isn't it? Not how long you have to live." Emma froze, color draining from her face. The jade pendant at her throat seemed to tremble with her pulse. "How did you?" "I didn't. Not until just now." His grip gentled on her arm. "You're not dying. You're fighting. The success rate is less than 30%, she whispered, her carefully applied lipstick standing out starkly against her pale skin. I didn't want you or Lily getting attached to someone who might. Might what? Might need support. Might have bad days. Might need someone to hold her hair back during treatments. Jack's voice rose with each question, his architect's hands gesturing emphatically. Or might survive and have to actually commit to something real? Emma's eyes flashed dangerously, a glimpse of the boardroom shark who'd built a tech empire from nothing. You have no right. I have every right, he interrupted, the dimple in his cheek deepening as his jaw clenched. Because I love you. And you're using this diagnosis as an excuse to run away, just like I've been using Sarah's death as mine. The silence between them crackled with tension as other meeting attendees filed past, pretending not to notice their standoff. If you're on the edge of your seat, drop a heart in the comments. Should Jack fight for this relationship or respect Emma's boundaries? Lily asks about you every day, Jack said more quietly. She misses your pancake races and how you never let her win at Monopoly. Don't use your daughter to manipulate me, Emma replied, but her voice lacked conviction. Her fingers unconsciously reached for the jade pendant, a tell Jack had come to recognize as a sign of her inner conflict. I'm not. I'm telling you that you've already made an impact on our lives. Running away won't undo that. He released her arm and stepped back, running a hand through his hair in frustration. Have dinner with us tonight. No pressure, no expectations. Just dinner. The war of emotions playing across Emma's face was painful to watch. Fear, longing, calculation, and beneath it all, a desperate hope she couldn't quite suppress. Her assistant hovered nearby, clearly concerned about the intensity of the conversation. Just dinner, she finally agreed, smoothing her already perfect hair in a nervous gesture. Dinner turned into movie night, which turned into Emma helping Lily with her science project the following weekend. They established new boundaries. Emma would be honest about her treatments and bad days. Jack would respect her need for independence while still offering support. They took things day by day, neither making promises they weren't sure they could keep. Jack learned to recognize the signs of Emma's fatigue before she would admit to it, quietly creating space for her to rest without making her feel weak. Emma learned that Jack's humor sharpened when he was anxious, and that bringing Lily into his orbit was the fastest way to center him again. And Lily, with her child's wisdom, seemed to understand instinctively when Emma needed exuberant distraction and when she needed gentle company. Until the night of Emma's company gala, 6 weeks into her treatment protocol. Jack watched her work the room in a stunning silver gown, her natural charisma undimmed despite the toll the medications were taking. Her hair was styled to disguise its thinning, and her makeup artfully concealed the shadows under her eyes, but nothing could hide the fierce intelligence and determination that had built her company from a startup to a tech giant in under a decade. When she took the stage to announce her company's latest initiative, a scholarship program for children who had lost parents, he felt a surge of pride so intense it nearly brought him to his knees. My perspective has changed recently, Emma told the crowd, her voice strong despite her fatigue. Her eyes found Jack's across the room, where he stood tall in a tuxedo that showcased his broad shoulders and athletic build. I've learned that the greatest risk in life isn't failure, it's refusing to open yourself to possibilities out of fear. Later that night, as they swayed together on the dance floor, Emma rested her head against his chest. The subtle scent of her perfume, jasmine and something uniquely her, mingled with the familiar scent of his cologne. My latest results show improvement, she murmured. The treatment might be working. Jack's arms tightened around her, careful not to press against the injection sites he knew were tender. That's wonderful news. It's not a guarantee, she cautioned, ever the pragmatist. There could still be setbacks. I know. He pressed a kiss to her hair. But we'll face them together. Emma pulled back slightly to look up at him, vulnerability and determination warring in her expression. The woman who intimidated tech giants and charmed investors now looked almost shy. I need you to understand something, Jack. Even if this treatment works, my condition is chronic. There will always be risks, always be uncertainty. Like life itself, he replied, the lines around his eyes crinkling as he smiled down at her. None of us are guaranteed tomorrow, Emma. I learned that in the hardest possible way with Sarah. The question isn't whether we might lose each other someday, it's whether we're brave enough to love each other today. If this story has touched your heart, please share it with someone who needs to hear this message about choosing love despite life's uncertainties. 3 months later, Jack stood in his kitchen watching Emma and Lily make pancakes together, their heads bent over the mixing bowl in identical concentration. Emma's hair was shorter now. She'd cut it preemptively when the doctors warned it might thin during treatment, but it suited her, highlighting her elegant neck and determined jawline. The jade pendant still rested at her throat, but now it was joined by a simple silver chain Jack had given her, with a charm that matched one Lily wore. She looked up, catching him staring, and raised an eyebrow in silent question. "Just admiring the view," he said with the crooked smile that never failed to bring color to her cheeks. "Gross, Dad," Lily groaned, though her wide grin betrayed her delight at their interaction. Flour dusted her nose, and her dark hair was escaping its ponytail, a perfect counterpoint to Emma's neat precision. Later that night, after Lily was asleep, Emma curled against him on the couch, her tablet displaying the latest research on her condition. The blue light illuminated her face, highlighting both her determination and her fatigue. "My doctor wants to try adjusting the medication," she said, her fingers nervously tracing patterns on his arm. "The side effects have been more severe than expected." Jack nodded, running his fingers through her hair. "Whatever you need. We'll handle it." Emma set the tablet aside and turned to face him fully. "That's just it, Jack. I don't want to just handle this. I want more." She took a deep breath, her amber eyes meeting his blue ones directly. "I want a life with you and Lily. A real one, not this careful arrangement we've been maintaining." Jack felt his heart stutter in his chest. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I love you. Both of you. And I'm tired of pretending I'm just passing through your lives." Her voice grew stronger with each word, the same voice that had closed million-dollar deals and inspired her employees. "I can't promise I'll always be well. I can't promise forever. But I can promise to fight, for my health, for us, for the future we could build together." Jack cupped her face in his hands, his calloused thumbs gently tracing her cheekbones. He was overwhelmed by the journey that had brought them here. From a business meeting to a fling to this moment of profound connection, they had both transformed. "I never believed I could love again after Sarah," he admitted, his voice rough with emotion. "I thought that part of me died with her. But you didn't just make me want more than a fling, Emma, you made me brave enough to imagine a future again." Their kiss sealed a promise neither had believed possible months earlier, a commitment not to a certain outcome, but to facing life's uncertainties together, one day at a time. If this story moved you, please like and subscribe for more content that celebrates love's power to transform us even in our darkest moments. 6 months to the day after Emma's devastating revelation, they stood together on the beach, watching Lily chase waves along the shoreline. The wind tousled Emma's growing hair, now streaked with subtle highlights that caught the sunlight. Her body had regained some of the curves lost during treatment, though she still tired more easily than before. Jack stood beside her, one arm protectively around her waist, his face more relaxed than it had been in years. The constant furrow between his brows had softened, and the smile that had once been reserved only for Lily now appeared regularly. Emma's latest test results showed significant improvement, though her doctors cautioned that her condition would require lifelong management. Jack's architectural firm had partnered with Emma's foundation to design innovative wellness centers across the country, combining their professional strengths in a way neither had anticipated. Their first joint project was already under construction, a center that incorporated both cutting-edge medical facilities and spaces designed for emotional healing. "I have something for you," Jack said, reaching into his pocket. Instead of the ring Emma half expected, he pulled out a small key. "It's to the house on Maple Street, the one you loved with the big windows and the garden space." Emma's eyes widened. You bought it? We bought it, he corrected, the afternoon sun highlighting the laugh lines around his eyes. If you want it. If you want us, officially, permanently, with all the uncertainty and messiness that entails. Emma closed her fingers around the key, then reached for Jack's hand. His fingers were strong and steady, marked with the occasional pencil smudge from his drafting work. I spent my whole life building walls to protect myself, she said softly. Success, independence, control, they were my armor. Then you and Lily came along and showed me that the things worth protecting aren't meant to be hidden away. As Lily ran back to them, sand-covered and beaming, her dark hair wild from the ocean breeze, Emma opened her arms to embrace them both. The jade pendant at her throat caught the sunlight as she moved, a symbol of her heritage that now represented not just where she came from, but where she belonged. The future remained unwritten, filled with challenges they would face and joys they would celebrate. Emma would have good days and bad, treatments that worked and setbacks to overcome. Jack would still wake occasionally from nightmares about loss, reaching across the bed to reassure himself.